weren't able to put it together.
Thanks for your time.
Thank you.
Cheers, Matt Upson. They're part of our commentary team at Wembley tonight. John Murray will be alongside him. Chappers is here at 7 to kick it all off.
Painting on TikTok.
Nancy, 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 we're begging of you, please don't take 9 grand. We climbed into your tower tall. We know that you can't stop us all. Your management will surely fall, Nancy. We'll occupy from dawn till dusk. We'll stay here and kick up a fuss until you come and talk to us, Nancy.
Well, the Nancy being referred to there is the President of the University of Manchester, Nancy Rothwell. Joining us now, 2 of the students currently occupying Owens Park Tower, Ben McGowan and Izzy Smithman, I hope that's correct. Izzy, hello, welcome to the programme.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi. So, first of all, before we talk about what your demands are, etc., what are the conditions like there? Izzy, I'll start with you.
Yeah, it's not bad. We've got an entire 18-floor residential, well, it's a commercial building, but residential building that we've got to ourselves pretty much. There's been a lot of solidarity and support from staff and students, so we have a lot of food and a lot of space to kind of occupy.
What is actually happening at the scene at the moment? Can students wander in and out with food? Has it been cordoned off by the authorities? Where are you in this dispute?
So, although they have, as far as we're aware, no legal right to, security have cordoned off the building. So, they're allowing food deliveries in, they're allowing people to pass us stuff through security. But yeah, none of us are allowed to leave, and we're not allowed to bring people in. Okay. Well, Ben, we got the gist of your demands there. You certainly want a decrease in fees and rent. What response have you had from the university authorities at the moment?
So, I mean, the university has completely refused to communicate with us, really, which is why we took this action in the first place, because the rent strike's been going for a couple of months now, the campaign, and we've consistently tried to reach out to the university to arrange meetings and to discuss the issues we had before we escalated it. They repeatedly ignored us and said they didn't want to meet with us and tried to hide behind bureaucracy. So we decided we had to take some form of direct action, which is how we ended up here.
And you want a reduction for what reason?
Well, I mean, there's plenty of reasons we have, but so, for instance, the University of Manchester promised they brought students up here on face-to-face teaching, and once students got up here and had paid their tuition fees and had paid their rent, that promise was reversed before it ever took place. So we really think the university, throughout everything, has really prioritised profit over students, and that's been their mentality throughout, rather than any pretense that they care about students' welfare. The lack of funding for mental health services, the state of accommodation, which some of which is almost 60 years old, and we have constant flooding and leaking, which the university has admitted they've been slow in repairing and haven't been able to keep up with the amount of repairs that's needed.
You've had a partial victory, haven't you? I believe they've agreed a certain rent cut, but what they do say is that they're already talking to elected students' union representatives, and what you're doing is dangerous and irresponsible, to paraphrase them.
I mean, what's really dangerous and irresponsible is funneling hundreds of thousands of students across the country into accommodation, which caused a spike in corona cases across the country, and the university collaborated in that. But so did you, really. Presumably you chose to go. You weren't driven up there at gunpoint. I mean, we were brought up here on the pretense that there would be face-to-face teaching, and there never was. There was no reason for us to be here now, but how were we to know that when we came here?
So your argument is, if you'd known it was going to be remote teaching, you'd have stayed at home, would you, and done it that way?
Yeah, I mean, we're hundreds of miles across the country, essentially just in a flat, occasionally go to pre-recorded Zooms.
Yeah. I remember discussing this in great detail before students went back. Do you not think there might be foresight, knowing that it might have come to this, that it might have to be remote learning?
Yeah, I think this entire kind of thing has been handled with incompetence. You know, they had several months to prepare, and they had the science on their side to know that bringing so many students from around the country together would cause an increase in coronavirus cases. It's extremely hard to social distance in halls, yet then the students are blamed for the outbreak once it does occur.
No, but I was talking as well as the authorities a bit about you guys as well, knowing that you were going to university during a pandemic. There were going to be certain difficulties along the way.
I think, yeah, of course, we knew there would be certain difficulties along the way, but all the emails that I received, before coming to university promised a safe campus. I think safe was the word that was repeated throughout all the communication we got. And then when we actually got here, the majority of us got coronavirus within the first 2 weeks. So I think the sort of lies that we were told about it being safe, we're 18-year-olds moving away from home for the first time. I think we trusted it when the university said it would be safe, and just wasn't.
We've got 10 seconds, Ben. You've promised to escalate. What are you going to do next?
So we've planned the January rush strike now, and we're certain it's going to be way bigger than the last one, because the university's continued to fail since then. Guys,
we've got to end it there. Cheers, Ben and Izzy from the University of Manchester. That's it from me and Anna. We shall see you tomorrow.
On digital, BBC Sounds, smart speaker and online.
This is BBC Radio 5 Live.
BBC News at 7 o'clock. This is Mike Powell. Public Health England says that relaxing the coronavirus restrictions so families can meet for Christmas would mean 5 additional days of lockdown measures for each day they've eased over the festive period. Health officials say they hope that Christmas can be as close to normal as possible, but that can only happen with extra vigilance to prevent transmission. Scotland's First Minister Nicola Sturgeon says it's an issue being discussed throughout the UK.
We are all desperate for some normality at Christmas, and I absolutely include myself in that. And the Scottish Government right now is working very closely and well with the other UK nations to try to agree a way for that to happen.
The pharmaceutical company Pfizer says it will apply within days for approval to produce its coronavirus vaccine, which has now been shown to be 95% effective. The jab was just as effective and safe among the older generation. A further 529 people have died in the UK within 28 days of a positive COVID-19 test. It brings the total to 53,274. The head of the Unite Union, Len McCluskey, says he's astonished by Sir Keir Starmer's decision to bar Jeremy Corbyn from returning as a Labour MP, despite officials reinstating him as a party member. Mr Corbyn had been suspended for suggesting the scale of anti-Semitism in the party had been overstated. Jenny Manson from the pro-Corbyn Jewish Voice for Labour group says not all Jews were upset.
There is many Jewish communities, and they are not all upset about Jeremy being back in the Labour Party. An awful lot of us are very happy that he's back in the party. And a lot of us would say, like he said, that the allegations were over-exaggerated.
A man from Lincoln has been charged with terrorism offences related to right-wing extremism. Ben John, who's 20, is facing 7 counts of possessing terrorist information. Environmental campaigners have welcomed many of the government's new measures to lower carbon emissions, including a ban on petrol and diesel cars by 2030 and a drive towards wind and nuclear power. But many argue that the package doesn't match the scale of the challenges presented by climate change. Lady Worthington, who helped draw up the existing climate change legislation, insists that the UK is leading the way.
Despite the challenges that the country's facing this year, the drive and the commitment that we've made as the UK to really lead the world in decarbonisation and moving to new technologies is undiminished. And this is really setting out very clearly those key areas where we will be investing and encouraging business to make those step changes into new technologies.
Paloma Faith says she did her bit for her community while recording her album in lockdown, doing food shopping for her neighbours. The singer says she delivered groceries to 4 other households living near her in East London, including NHS workers and pensioners. The weather is going to be a windy night, chillier than recently. Showers in many central and northern parts. In northern Scotland, they'll become wintry by dawn. BBC News at 3 minutes past 7.
Are y'all ready? All right, give me a seat.
Anticipation like this,
Welcome, everyone.
I've been so looking forward to this.
has been decades in the making.
Thank you, Radio 2, for having me.
In Concert 50.
Celebrating 50 years with 50 live performances from the 70s to today. Bon Jovi, Annie Lennox, Radiohead, Paul Weller, Take That, Ed Sheeran, and more.
Yeah, I think you're representing every era.
BBC Radio 2's In Concert 50.
Download the BBC Sounds app to discover the full lineup.
This is 5 Live Sport with Mark Chapman.
In
England are out of the Nations League.
Mertens will run forward. It is Dries Mertens. Oh, it's a super free kick. Dries Mertens right-footed over the wall, and Belgium increased their lead with a quality free kick from Dries Mertens.
But Southgate says tonight is not a dead rubber.
Every game with England is important. We've got different options in different areas of the pitch, but we have to look at the tactical problem the opposition poses, the players that we want to have a look at, but I don't think we'll approach it any differently.
Commentary of England against Iceland from 7:45. And can Steve Clarke's Scotland reach another landmark?
Mitrovic, a right-footed penalty, that's saved by Marshall. Scotland have done it. All those years in the wilderness without a major tournament finals to go to. They're over.
From BBC Sport,
This is 5 Live Sport.
Evening, welcome to 5 Live Sport. Wednesday evening, 7:04. Busy night of international football here over the next 3 and a bit hours or so. We've got reporters at 4 games and commentary of England against Iceland. It's a 7:45 kickoff. Sell it to me, John Murray. I'm bubbling with excitement.
Yes, I can just imagine you there, barely able to contain yourself.
Honestly, been pacing up and down the hall with nerves.
Well, let me bring you news. So we are behind closed doors here at Wembley on a damp, dark November night. England can only finish 3rd in the group. Iceland have already been relegated. But Gareth Southgate's picked a strong team tonight. I would say the strongest available, actually, and it is Pickford, Walker, Dyer and Maguire, Trippier, Mount, Rice and Saka, Foden, Grealish and Harry Kane. So that's only 9 different Premier League managers who will doubtless be less than chuffed that their players are starting this match for England. Gareth Southgate did flag up yesterday, Mark, that Grealish and Mount will not play the whole match, having started all 3.
Former England players Karen Carney and Matt Upson are with us, as is our senior football reporter Ian Dennis. What's the point, Matt? As in tonight's game, not that'd be a bit bleak, wouldn't it? I mean, it might not be the most thrilling game, but it's not that bad. What does Southgate want to get out of it? What as a player would you want to get out of it? What is the point?
Well, for me, personally, whenever you pull on an England shirt and you step on the grass, there's a real honour, a real duty, and there's an opportunity. And I think that's definitely out there for a lot of these players who, building up to a major tournament, want to stake a claim, want to prove to the manager they can be trusted and relied upon, and want to prove that they are world class. And I think that alone is a huge individual motivation. Forget the team situation and there's nothing to go on this game, we're not going to qualify or go to a finals or whatever, but from that point of view it's very big for the players. And I think that is what Gareth Southgate will be looking at as a manager. He'll be looking at whether or not the players are capable of playing in this kind of game and applying themselves at a high level. You know, we're still in that period of developing this shape and system, and I think that's very important to Gareth Southgate. So, you know, there's lots of things to look at as to why this match could be a good, entertaining game. I'm going to shine a positive light on it, chappers.
Yeah, that's good. Karen?
I'd agree. It's the greatest honour that you can ever have to play for your country, and there's a lot of young players that have been given the opportunity tonight that have to take it and grab it with both hands. But I think as well it's important for Gareth Southgate because he doesn't get a lot of contact time with the players. You know, if you're away on an England camp for 10-11 days like they have been, they have 3 games. 3 of those days are matches, 2 or 3 of those days are recovery times. He only gets a short amount of time with his players on the grass, really, and he's preparing for a major tournament. And he now, with all the injuries that have been happening, his player pool has to widen, in my opinion. It can't be your 30 that he's been looking at. He's got to have 40 players now that he has to understand and know, because there'll be a lot of injuries. And I know people are saying, yeah, these games don't help, and I get that, but this is part and parcel of it. But he's going to widen his player pool, and these players tonight are going to be part of that, and they wanted to stake their claim for the championships in the summer.
Do you think there is a pool of 40 there?
Yeah, I do. But I think, I've been watching. I was at the under-21s game last night and on Friday, and been following the last couple of months. 5 of those under-21s are now been bumped up to the senior squad, and it might be a case of that he didn't want 40 players to look at, but because of the injury rates, the amount of games, the game accumulation, he's going to be forced to. I mean, this week alone he's lost 9 players. If that keeps happening throughout the season, he's going to have to widen his pool of players, and that might include some under-21 players. It might include players he never thought that he would dream of maybe picking in 6 months' time for the tournament. But COVID has maybe forced his hand into this situation. So as a manager, he's actually a bit of a businessman, really. He's oversees everything, and he has to future plan. And like I will always say, as from my experience, and Matthew will be the same, is that you're only judged as an England manager, as an England player, when you go to a major tournament. So he has to prepare himself the best way for that tournament come the summer, and he has to give everyone the best opportunity, have a look at them, know their personalities, both off the pitch as well. And this might be an opportunity for him tonight. It's not ideal, but it is what it is.
Calendar-wise, Ian Dennis, in an England shirt, there aren't that many more opportunities to play themselves into a Euro squad for these players, are there?
No, there's not. And in fact, when Karen was talking there about the limited time that Gareth Southgate will have with the players, I'm thinking before these set of matches, I think it was 22 days. And because of the games that are being played, in terms of actual quality training time, I think Gareth Southgate had said it drops to something like 6 to 7 days out of those 22 when you take out the recovery sessions, travel time and actual match days as well. And then you're saying about what's the point? We've seen that Jack Grealish has enhanced his claims now, and I think Jack Grealish is part of the 23 that will go to the Euros next summer. After this game, you've got 3 matches in March, which will be World Cup qualifiers. I think Phil Foden is a big opportunity for him tonight. It's his first start at Wembley. Obviously, Gareth Southgate has drawn a line under what had happened from his misdemeanor in Reykjavik against Iceland, and a player who I think has also taken full advantage, particularly of the 2 friendly games against Wales and Ireland, and is now firmly in contention for a place at the Euros next summer, is Bukayo Saka. It's his first competitive start, but I think he's really seized his opportunity now and is a genuine backup challenger even to Ben Chilwell on the left-hand side of defence.
But to ask you a question, the question you asked right at the start, Mark, what is there about this match, this team lineup to get people interested? I think, as Ian said, the fact that Foden and Grealish are starting in the same England team for the first time, I think that's certainly something that you can look at and think, well, how's that going to work?
We're going to hear from Gareth Southgate in just a moment, but just a quick one, Matt. So we've got the calendar and how it will kind of work between now and the Euros starting. Let's take Jack Grealish as a prime example here. Fantastic the other night. England's best player the other night. Let's say he has another great game this evening. How much, when you are an England player and you're looking to be named in a squad for a tournament, do you base it, do you think, on what you've done in an England shirt in November, or how your general form is come March and April? What's the balance?
Well, I think it's very close to quantify that in terms of percentages. I mean, if you're going to be balanced, you'd have to say it's 50-50, but I actually think how you conduct yourself, how you train, your personality, your character, how you are in the group, all of these things really add to your value as a member of the squad. And whether or not you make a mistake in the game, or you have a performance that isn't quite up to the standards of what's expected, then I think those characteristics are something that someone like Gareth Southgate really looks hard at before he makes a clinical judgment on you as a player. And yes, your domestic form is everything really to get you there in the first place, and it has to continue at a very high level. But I think how you go about the training regime, how you apply yourself in training every day, and your personality definitely comes into account. So it just buffers that. If you have a bad game, it can't be the end of it. If you have a bad run of form, it can't be the end of it. There has to be something underlying that is there behind you as well.
Let's hear from Gareth Southgate then, because he does say the last few months have been very frustrating for him in terms of being able to select his squad.
The reality is, from September right the way through, we've been nowhere near at full strength as a squad for any of the camps, nowhere near. It seems to be a problem for us, even more than for other nations. I mean, Belgium were missing Hazard through coronavirus and Carrasco, but not too many other injury. You know, we seem to have had a lot, and maybe that's the nature of our league, I don't know. But that has, of course, been an issue. Against the very best teams, you want to have as many of your top players available as possible. And that said, the situation we've had has meant opportunities for other people, and I think other people have gone in and done extremely well. So it's in no way a criticism of the lads we've got with us. I think they've performed to their very best, and they've taken their opportunities brilliantly across the autumn period.
And in terms of experimentation with this match against Iceland, how much is it playing on your mind that when you have the next set of matches in March, they will actually be competitive games, and it'll be the start of a World Cup qualifying campaign?
We've got to deliver a performance that is a response to losing the other day. I mean, our performance was very, very good. We didn't get the result that we deserved. We want to finish this autumn period well. We've given some very good performances. The team have improved their level as we've gone through the games, and we've got to finish that well. And the players are keen to do that. They want to get back out at Wembley and put on a good show for everybody. And that's what we have to focus on.
Karen Carney, Matt Upson, John Murray, Ian Dennis, your England team this evening. When you look at the midfield here, Matt, and the Rice-Mount partnership is slightly different to partnerships that Southgate has gone with for other qualifiers, anyhow.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it adds a little bit more attacking value, doesn't it, when you think of Phillips and Rice and Henderson. You know, this has definitely got a different feel to it. And it's funny because we were chatting before, and I just remember the success that England had in Russia with one sitter in front of the back three. And I think that's something to look at and explore a little bit more. And I'm not saying that he's going to play with Mason Mount, you know, ridiculously higher up the pitch. I think he probably will still stay with Declan Rice for the majority of the game in front of the back three. But, you know, we coped really well in that tournament with Henderson sitting in front of the back three for the majority of the games, and we looked pretty secure and solid. So, you know, to try and solve that conundrum of not getting that one extra attacking midfield player or attacking wide player on the pitch, you know, that's an option for Gareth Southgate.
And yet, now, Karen, further forward, we're going with maybe less pace than normal, with Grealish and Foden either side of Kane, when in the past he has preferred Sterling and Rashford, or Sterling and Sancho, or Sancho and Rashford. It's less pace maybe than he would normally go with of the two players either side of Kane.
Yeah, I mean, he's actually going with 3 number 10s, and effectively how Kane's been playing for Spurs this season. He's a 9/10, a bit of a hybrid. So it's crazy. And I don't know whether that's because of selection, or whether again it's the state of the opposition. That will there be any space in behind for pace? Will Iceland really be defensive minded and block up all the spaces in behind? So you're going to have to play with more creative number 10s and get the ball in front of you as opposed to in behind. So it is interesting. I do think moving forward though, those combinations will have to be switched up. I mean, even if you look at club form, Kane gets the best out of himself because he's got pace with Son now, and the same in Grealish. He's got Watkins. There's always a stretch or a threat in behind. So it'd be interesting to see how they get on tonight, because I did feel against Belgium they missed that speed and that pace in behind. But again, I think it's purely because of the opposition they're going to face tonight.
I think this is a wing-back stream, isn't it, in terms of Grealish and Foden. That's how I really feel about this setup. In that, Karen's right, you lose that bit of out-and-out width, wide play that I'm sure Kane enjoys playing with in terms of delivery into the box and crosses and opportunities to score. But Saka and Trippier have got to be licking their lips this evening with Grealish and Foden being able to dribble inside, and their timing and creative passing and weight of passing into space and cleverness around the box is going to prove really interesting to see.
He's been Gareth Southgate. He's got this dilemma, hasn't he? And in the build-up to this game, he was talking about people keep harking back to England's win against Spain when they won 3-2, and he says this. Then the stats from the Belgium game actually probably indicated.
Because it was a thrilling win.
Brilliance, clinical finishing, all these little bits that make up a top performance. If those things are on point and England are sharp in that area of in that department across the board, we're capable. We're more than capable of great results, but it's just having that consistency of players being able to apply that on the pitch, in my opinion.
But England, since the World Cup, have produced better results against the top nations than they actually did going into the World Cup or at the World Cup. The game against
it's those little elements that end up costing you in those tournaments.
I know I can keep hearing you saying Belgium won. Won.
From my perspective, like I said earlier, it's about doing it at the tournament. I remember we won the She Believes and against an America second, and I was thinking at the time, oh no, I don't know about this. Which one would have won the World Cup? It's about doing it at the tournament. It's doing it at the right time and finding a way. And of course, the performance is pleasing, but you can't give away free kicks in those areas, because we know at international level games are won on mistakes and set plays. That's how England got to the semi-final in 2018, because of the set plays. You have to be smart. I personally think there's a formula of international football, and I think Gareth Southgate knows that, and he's just got to find a way now. For me, it's not important, these games. They are, if that makes sense, in terms of preparation. You're judged at an international tournament. You have to find a way when you're there.
Doesn't it start here?
Hang on, Karen. When you say you believe there's a formula, the same formula for every team, or you have to find your own formula?
No, I think that in terms of, if you look at stats, I remember when we was doing it, you have to score a certain amount by set plays, you have to keep a certain amount of clean sheets. I think there was even a stat earlier about how many caps you have in experience that helps you get, the more experienced you are. I think there are certain formulas that when I was at England, we used to look at, and it was the same. You might say, yes, that's the women's side of the game, but a lot of the stuff that we did has been transferred. It's all over the same level, whether it's with the women's or the men's. So there's a lot of background research in the penalties. The year now was Julian was in charge, the coach, and he said, we can't, I don't want you to tackle around the 18-yard box. And the players were like, why? And he's like, because you'll give away set plays. They conceded the less amount of goals from set plays because they didn't tackle anyone. It doesn't mean they don't put their foot in, but they don't give away silly fouls like we did against Belgium the other day, because that knocks you out of a tournament.
And sorry, Matt, what were you going to say?
My formula is that it starts here, and I think Karen's absolutely right in that there are certain elements that win you tournaments, absolutely for sure. But the overriding element that I believe wins you a tournament is the ability to focus, to do the simple things to a world-class level, and to have total concentration for the full duration of the game across the board. Every player absorb all the technical information, the tactical information, and for me, it all starts here. It all starts in the build-up. It starts the moment you walk into the hotel, wherever you are at St George's Park, and it's those messages, and it's carrying yourself in that way. And I think that is the formula that I understand that leads to the success of tournaments.
And also, Ian, just some of what you said, I agree with. But when you list a whole load of, one of Belgium's goals the other night being a deflection. Well, Mason Mount's winner against Belgium in the first game was through a deflection. So you've got to, them's the break sometimes.
Yeah, but what I was suggesting is that they are the fine margins that Karen has also just been talking about as well. And when you're saying, well, Belgium won. When England scraped a win against Iceland in Reykjavik in September, and the performance was dreadful, one of the worst performances they've put in, it wasn't a case of, England won. Then it was about the performance. So you can't have it both ways.
What they've demonstrated is in the matches against the two better teams in this group that there is not a lot between Belgium and England, despite the strength of the Belgian squad, and actually also there wasn't a great deal between Denmark and England in the two matches that were played there. And if it came to a tournament, if it came to the Euros next summer and they were playing each other, they've both they've both got food for thought as a result of what's happened in these two games. But as he said all the way through, Gareth Southgate, this is the whole point of this is finding a way to pick your way through a tournament and win it, and that's ultimately where you'll be judged.
85058 at 5 Live Sport if you want to get in touch with us this evening. We've got reporters covering all the home nations matches tonight as well as the Republic of Ireland. Let's start with Alistair Breezeball at home in his pants watching Wales against Finland.
I'm pleased to see the obsession with my pants continues, Mark.
Well, no, obsession with the facts, Ali, not nothing else.
Well, you and I covered a golf tournament when we weren't at the venue last week. Did I turn up in my pants?
No, but you were in a public office there, not sat at home.
Yes, but I maintain a professional environment at home as well. So yes, I am wearing pants, but I'm wearing other clothes as well, and I'm getting ready for Wales against Finland. And there is a lot riding on this one, a lot for Wales, but I have to say a lot for Finland as well. Wales on 13 points and Finland on 12 points, which gives Wales the slight advantage. It means a draw is enough for them tonight. Obviously, a win would see them win the group and get promoted to the top tier of the Nations League, which would be great in itself. The other little bonus to that, which you can tuck in your back pocket, is it would put Wales or Finland, were they to win the game, in a very strong position to sort of have ranking, and Wales and Finland, having performed well in this group, if they win this group, would be in good shape to take one of those. They might argue, we don't think we'll need it because we'll either win a group or we'll come runners-up in a group, which would give us a playoff place anyway. 3 changes for Wales tonight, by the way, from the 1-0 win over the Republic of Ireland. Jamie Lawrence comes in for the suspended Ben Davies. Connor Roberts in for Nico Williams at right wing-back. They're going 3-4-3 again. And Harry Wilson in for David Brooks.
Thank you, Ali. Northern Ireland have already been relegated from their group after Romania were awarded a win from their cancelled game against Norway. Ian Barraclough's side taking on Romania tonight. What does their relegation mean, John Southall?
Well, nobody likes to get relegated, and I don't think it's a great surprise they have been with 1 Nations League point from 9 games that they've played in the 2 competitions. But bizarrely, it might not be the worst thing to happen if you want to look at it on a positive spin, and it could make it easier to reach the Euros in 2024. So dropping to League C is obviously a lower rank of teams. So if the format does remain the same, they wouldn't face a team above 54th in the world rankings as it stands at the moment, and 9 of the 14 teams that they would come up against would be outside the world's top 100. They'd have to win the group to go into the playoffs, but once there, they wouldn't play a team from the top 2 leagues. So it should be a simpler passage from that perspective. But I think they'll be pretty glad to see the back of the Nations League. Obviously, they lost that playoff final, bottom of their group now with 1 point, so they could do with a win tonight. No more so than the manager, Ian Barraclough, who's yet to win a game in open play in 90 minutes from his opening 7 matches. Makes 5 changes from that defeat in Austria, sticks with a 5-3-2 formation. Peacock, Farrell, Evans, Cathcart, Josh McGuinness return. Matty Kennedy makes his debut. He did play for the Scotland under-21s at 1 point, and young players Ali McCann and Danny Ballard both keep their places, which is good to see because both are impressive in Vienna on Sunday night, and I think it's fair to say that Northern Ireland now need to start bringing young players through.
So go to the Republic of Ireland next. Stephen Kenny under a bit of pressure after a sequence of bad results, and on top of that, Jose Mourinho's turned up the heat a little bit this week as well. Conor McNamara's watching them against Bulgaria.
Yeah, Jose Mourinho's been quite active lately on Instagram. I don't know if you've noticed, but one of his recent posts was to sarcastically criticise the sort of safety protocols that have been in place for the international break. We know that Matt Doherty has tested positive for COVID, so too James McLean. There was a photo of Doherty having a close embrace with his Tottenham teammate Gareth Bale at the end of the game on Sunday, which had people worried for Bale as well. Tottenham do have a big game with Man City at the weekend, and Doherty's now going to have to miss that, so that's why Jose was getting involved. But Ireland have been especially hard hit on the COVID front. Last week, Alan Brown played the full 90 minutes against England, the friendly. They discovered immediately after that game that he had played the full game with COVID. Callum Robinson tested positive at the start of the week. Last month, Jack Byrne and Derek Williams were positive. There were 5 players who missed the doubleheader against Wales and Finland because they'd been close contact. So Kenny was down to the bare bones anyway, and he's even more threadbare tonight.
As far as the team news is concerned?
Well, tonight, Ryan Manning, Swansea's new signing, makes his debut. Luton striker James Collins will lead the line. There's no Jeff Hendrick. He's suspended, so too Jason Malumbi, the Brighton player. Adam Ida, being the teenage striker for recent games, he's injured tonight. It's actually a funny one, chappers, because the results have been terrible for Stephen Kenny. He's taken over. Tonight's his 8th game. He's not had a win yet. They haven't scored in the last 6 matches. And yet, there's been this relatively warm response to Kenny in the Irish media. I think they see him as being one of their own. It's a little bit like Ole Gunnar Solskjaer at Old Trafford. Manchester United fans will give him a break in a squeaky period because of the club legend he was as a player. The Irish journos like that Kenny was promoted from coaching a club in the League of Ireland to getting the top job as Mick McCarthy's successor. So they're giving him a lot of time. But I think as much as anything here, he's trying to play this more attractive football. We're now seeing maybe why Mick McCarthy, why Martin O'Neill before him, why they didn't try this attractive football, because those tactics at the moment are not delivering results.
Thank you very much, Connor. Of course, Scotland confirmed their place at the Euros last week. They're going to tonight's game with Israel, having another landmark in their sights. Roddy Forsyth watching this match. It could have implications on Scotland's World Cup qualification for Qatar in 2022, Roddy.
Yes, it could. Just to let you know, you'll not be surprised that Scotland have picked the same side to play Israel tonight, the same side who beat Serbia last Thursday. Despite Scotland's success in reaching the Euros in Belgrade, they'll have a tough task to meet the next World Cup, as you say. The 10 group winners will qualify automatically. The 10 runners-up will go into a playoff format along with the 2 best performing Nations League group winners who haven't qualified. I hope that's clear as mud. Scotland will be 3rd seeds in the World Cup draw, so a win tonight would give them another shot at qualification for 2022 if they should need it. The other consequence, of course, would be promotion to Nations League A and the chance to go up against top-class sides, England being a prime example. And don't forget, none of that looked likely this time last year, and it amounts to a ringing endorsement of the decision to appoint Steve Clarke as Scotland manager.
Just a quick one on Malky Mackay, who this evening has announced that he's going to leave his job as performance director with the SFA, Roddy.
Yes, that's a bit of a surprise. Nobody saw that one coming, but on the one hand, you have Scotland men qualifying for Euro 2020 last season. Scotland's women qualified for the World Cup for the first time. So it appears, certainly from his statement, that he feels he's reached a satisfactory point and perhaps feels he can't do much more. Anyway, he's off.
Thank you, Roddy. Let's talk to former Scotland international Gordon Greer, who played under Steve Clarke at Kilmarnock. Matt Upson actually also played under Steve Clarke at West Ham. And Matt and Gordon actually played together at Brighton. So did you have to do a lot of Matt's work for him, Gordon, before we go on to Steve?
I'm still tired for looking after Matt, to be honest with you.
You still got a bad back? Your back's still hurting a bit, mate.
My back's still hurting. Matt left us after a year, went on to bigger, better things, going into the Premier League, and I was still struggling to cope after Matty left, to be honest with you.
Every single person that under Steve Clarke loved it, and you'd go along with that, would you, Gordon?
Yeah, I mean, he came into Kilmarnock in really different, in really difficult circumstances. We were struggling with quite a young side at the time, and he just came in, and the best way I could describe it is he just got us really solid and really well organised. Part of the thing that I loved about him was the fact that every training session that we'd done was geared up to the game that we were going to play on the Saturday. So although we never changed, our shape a lot, or sort of ventured out into doing patterns of play or whatnot, it was more the defensive side where he really nailed us down, and we were really difficult to beat.
And I'm assuming quite a lot of those skills is perfect for international level, where you have more time to assess your opponents and more time.
Obviously, he's in a great run, and we're actually playing some really good football as well, which is great to see.
He gave a great answer in an article I read, which I mentioned before, about why he waited so long to be a manager, because he wanted to make sure his financial security, because it can be a little bit perilous as a job. He wanted to make sure that his kids were at the right age, because of having to move around as a manager, again, because it's a perilous job. And it struck me as being a very sensible way of looking at the job, and also an indication that with his family always coming first, I guess he's the kind of guy that you can go to with anything.
Yeah, I mean, I think, as you say, that is a really sensible way of looking at it. I don't know how many young coaches or managers would take the same approach nowadays. But, you know, when I was at Kilmarnock, I was living away from home, and he was great with me. And I touched on earlier the fact that, you know, you could approach him. You know, his perception to the media is maybe he's a wee bit sort of downbeat, and you can't have a laugh with him, but you can approach him, and he's actually got a good sense of humour when you get to know him, and he's relaxed around the players.
You'd go along with that, would you, Matt?
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because the one thing, and I'm sure Gordon loved this about him, knowing Gordon, having played with him, is that you like your routine, Gordon, don't you? You like to know what you're doing, you like training done properly. And for me, Steve Clarke, his training was absolute pinpoint. It was so meticulous, the way it was laid out. He'd be out there, he'd be looking at his watch as the lads are rolling up. You know, we're starting this time, bang, we starting. Anyone was late, they'd just get the stare or the disapproving look, you know, as if to say, why are you not already out here? What's going on? And his standards that he set was so high, and I absolutely loved that about him. And that was, for me, was one of the most important things about having him as a coach. He was a brilliant coach in terms of his sessions and how they were set up and the theme and what it is we did, but that side of him was very, very good, and I can see how that could leak into, you know, a real strength as a manager as well.
Good to have you on, Gordon. Thanks for coming on this evening.
No problem, that's great.
Thank you.
Take care, Gordon.
Thank you.
Hopefully have you on again soon. Gordon Greer, former Scotland international, who played under Steve Clarke at Kilmarnock. So we've got eyes on all the home nations and the Republic of Ireland this evening. They're all in action. When the goals go in, we'll bring them to you. But now it's time for our commentary from Wembley. England against Iceland. Matt Upson alongside Ian Dennis, and first of all, John Murray.
Thanks, Mark. Yes, the players just walking out of the tunnel now, one by one. England, the first team out. Navy blue tracksuit tops on, and the all royal blue of Iceland. Just now making their way, the last of the players, across the white line and lining up before the anthems. At one stage, we are here at Wembley, but at one stage this last week, it looked as though this match might be played in Germany or even in Albania. Such strange times are these. However, behind closed doors, thousands of empty red seats, and here we are, England and Iceland at Wembley. Icelandic team to play England here at Wembley. Kane leads the applause and then unzips his tracksuit top and the players will move away to have their photographs taken. The teams tonight, if you haven't heard them yet, it's a strong England team that Gareth Southgate has gone with this evening. Jordan Pickford in goal, 3 central defenders are Walker, Dyer and Maguire. Trippier and Saka are the wing backs. Ben Chilwell is among the substitutes. I've just seen him take his seat actually in all of the seats behind the England dugout, so that is promising, at least for Chelsea at the weekend. So Trippier and Saka the wing backs, Mount and Rice in the middle, then Foden, Grealish and Harry Kane. And the Icelandic players just breaking away. Their captain Kari Árnason is just moving across now to the half. Say, when I think of Ray Clemence, I always think of him in his yellow goalkeeping shirt, and Jordan Pickford tonight actually brought out a yellow goalkeeping shirt with number 1 and Clemence on the back of it. This was for the warm-up, and he's placed it behind the goal that he's now running towards Jordan Pickford, and that shirt will remain there during the course of the match, which is a lovely little tribute. He's done that on behalf of the England Goalkeepers Union, and as well, I know Gareth Southgate wearing one of the prostate cancer Man of Men pin badges tonight, which represents all the families united against prostate cancer, which is the most commonly diagnosed cancer in the UK, and Ray Clemence was a great ambassador for that charity, Prostate Cancer UK, since he was first diagnosed in 2005. So thoughts with Ray Clemence and his family and friends. And now the players just going down onto one knee to mark the Black Lives Matter movement, and England will get the match underway in the white shirts, white shorts and white socks against the all royal blue of Iceland. In the first half, England are playing from left to right as we look, and right from the start. Here's Declan Rice just forward of the centre circle, and England playing the ball out towards the far side. Matt Upson is with us, played for England at the World Cup, and a strong England team that Gareth Southgate has picked tonight, Matt.
Yes, indeed, John. Very strong team, you have to say, from what was available. Very similar setup in terms of selection of shape and system, but just interestingly, Kieran Trippier already from the first kick with Eric Dyer with a long diagonal, he was beyond Phil Foden on this near side, who is tucking inside, so I fully expect Trippier to be hugging this touchline for most of the game.
Well, it's been all England possession so far, and Phil Foden, who is starting for England at Wembley for the first time. Plenty of experience here with Manchester City, of course, but still a big night for him. Ball played back by Iceland to goalkeeper Christensen, who clears it out of play on the halfway line. But this is BBC Radio 5 Live. We're bringing you England-Iceland in this final group match in the Nations League. As you will be aware, England, well, they will finish third in the group. They can't get any higher. They can't be relegated because Iceland, their fate of relegation was already decided last month. But we'll keep you across all of the other matches tonight. Still need to decide who wins this group, Belgium or Denmark. Belgium home to Denmark this evening, and obviously Scotland, Wales matches there looking to win the group. Republic of Ireland as well against Bulgaria, looking to avoid relegation. And we know Northern Ireland, because of the result, the UEFA decision earlier, Northern Ireland will be relegated, but they are in action tonight against Romania, and we'll keep you updated on that too. But England still in possession with Walker, who hits a low skimming pass along the surface of the pitch to Harry Maguire, back from suspension after missing the game in Leuven. And now England bring it forward with Saka on the left hand side, who did so well against the Belgians when he came on for the injured Chilwell the other evening. Then back to Dyer in the centre circle, and Eric Dyer, left footed, his pass is cut out on the edge of the box, and Iceland will break away for almost the first time, but in actual fact The ball is won back by Phil Foden, and England start again from the halfway line with Harry Maguire, who wanders forward. Saka's at close quarters. Saka is challenged by Poulsen on the halfway line, so England just keep possession inside their own half. I guess, Matt, there'll be, well, as I say, there will be 9 Premier League managers who will no doubt be disgruntled that their players are involved in this match this evening.
Yeah, they could be a little bit on edge, John, you'd have to say, of looking from afar, thinking fingers crossed, please don't walk into training, you know, in problems or any issues or worse. So, you know, it's essential that the players play, but there will be a few sitting on the edge of their seat.
Yeah, Foden playing the ball through into the penalty area for the run of Mount. Foden receiving the ball in a good area there, 25, 30 yards out, and attacking the Iceland penalty area, slipping it through for Mount, who wins the first corner of the match. From the right-hand side, just down in front of us, Harry Kane taking up a position right on the far side of the penalty area. He's not scored for England this season, Harry Kane, but of course in great goal scoring and all-round form for Jose Mourinho's Tottenham. So the corner to be taken from the right-hand side by